Hello, I'm Stuart Adam. I'm the roading forester for 141 Plantations. We manage 95,000 hectares of plantation throughout South Australia and Victoria, and this equates to 2,500 kilometres of forest roads that enable safe access and egress throughout the plantation. Looking after our roads is a team effort. As we travel on our roads, our actions can minimise damage to both roads and vehicles. Using care and diligence when navigating the forest can result in a reduction of risk to all road users.
Central Tyre Inflation System, or CTIS, is a tyre pressure system which allows operators to change the pressure in their tyres while on the move. Systems continually monitor the tyre pressure in the connected wheels and adjusts accordingly. CTI systems allow operators to adjust tyre pressures based on the load being carried and road conditions, which provide better handling and comfort to the operator. The systems also increase service life of the tyres and reduce wear and tear on our forestry road network.
Hi, my name's Philip, and at 141 I look after our heavy fleet and educate our drivers in good driving behaviours in the forest. So we've let down the tyres to the medium pressure for off-road usage. So what we're looking at is, you can see from about here through to here, the surface contact of the road with the tyre. While we're on the highway with higher tyre pressures, we'd probably cut that in half. So with a lower tyre pressure, we get more surface area on the road, we get better traction and better control of the vehicle.
Hi, my name's Bill. I work for Morelands. I drive A-doubles. I've been in the industry for over 10 years. So this is a great example of the tyres down at 30 pounds. You can see the profile of the base here has changed quite a fair bit, and we've got a much larger footprint. But instead of sitting just on this section of tyre here down the base, it's now from here to back here. So we've increased that footprint quite a fair bit, and that will give us greater control and traction.
When we're deflating tyres using the CTI, sometimes it can take up to 5 minutes for the tyres to come down to pressure, and can take up to 10 minutes for them to re-inflate. So while we're driving, we can predict that the environments that we're coming into or the environments that we're leaving, and preemptively start pumping tyres up, or we can start letting them down before we enter the forest. While inflating your tyres from a medium or low position, we can either do that stationary and set the engine to a high idle position, or we can put the truck into a manual mode and we can control the engine RPM by selecting an appropriate gear, which will give the air compressor in the truck enough power to re-inflate the tyres while we're being mobile. If we let the engine RPM drop too low, sometimes the air compressor can't keep up. So we just have to manage that with the gear and what speed we are doing until the tyres are up to pressure. As we're approaching the highway and leaving the plantation, we can just hit the high button, and as we approach the bitumen, the tyres will be inflating, and hopefully by the time we get back out on the highway, we'll be back at highway pressures and ready to get going. As we pull off the highway into a forestry track, we get onto our CTI controller, and depending on the configuration, we might only have rear or we might have some front control as well. So as we go down into the low position, it'll reduce it down to 30 PSI, so that if we see some sandier tracks up ahead, we can let that down so that as we approach the bad area of the track, that the truck will be ready to attack it as soon as we arrive.
Right, mate, good to roll. Okay, so we've got the tyre pressure down to 30 pound. The conditions here are pretty good today. And as you can see, it has been quite windy out here, so there are times when there are more obvious dangers when the wind is blowing. So the conditions can change from one day to the next. And this is something we need to be aware of. We're going a little bit wider on this corner while still staying on the track, just to give that rear trailer the room and space that it needs to get around. Once again on this bend, we're just staying over so the trailers have room to get around the corners safely without leaving the track.
When we're driving off-road, if you've got an automatic transmission, it's a good idea to put it into a manual control so that you can control how you ascend and descend some of the tracks through the forest and keep control of the vehicle. As we pull up down the track, we have a good look down the road and we make an initial assessment of the road in front of us and decide what kind of gear we're going to need to go down the hills in a safe way, and then on the other side what kind of gear we're going to need to then climb back out without having to use too much brake and to keep the vehicle under control. As we're going down the hill, the truck is keeping itself under control, it's not running away. And then as we start to ascend, we give it some power. While we're climbing, we try not to change gears as we're going up. If we change gears while trying to ascend the hill, we can have the issue where we'll skip a gear and then we'll have to stop the truck and start again. We can also cause the truck to spin tyres and then chew up the track as well. Once the track levels out, we can then go up a couple of gears and carry on.
Okay, so we're about to turn off the bitumen into the forest, making sure that our surroundings are safe. We're going to set ourselves up by moving across a little bit to the right here of the bitumen while the road is clear, to give ourselves plenty of room to turn off the bitumen onto the forest track. That wasn't a particularly difficult corner, but we certainly gave ourselves plenty of room. We're leaving the bush now, we've got our load on, or as we're getting loaded, we can certainly increase the tyre pressure up to the medium setting, and we can get going now, but that's coming up before we exit the bush onto the highway. This is where we'll change the UHF channel on the radio to 40. Our public channel, which the other road users will be on, to put a call out so that other road users will be aware that we're pulling out onto the main road. We're going to position ourselves on the track here accordingly before we pull out onto the bitumen. So I'm moving over to the far right here, to the edge of the track. We're going to turn left. We're going to put our call out and just let other road users know that we are about to pull out onto the road. A double out of Copping track, eastbound on the overland. It is a bit of a blind corner, but we have put our call out. And out we go. And we'll move back over to our side of the road as soon as we can, making sure that our trailers get out safely.
Road damage occurs for various reasons: weather impacts, water movement, machinery in vehicles, and poor driver behaviour. Some damage can be easily avoided by drivers correctly using CTI combined with suitable driving techniques. Power divider and cross lock can also be used to control traction. Power divider must be engaged before cross locks will engage. Engage when in a straight line, preferably before getting bogged, and ensure wheels are not spinning. To disengage, reduce throttle in a straight line and maybe wobble the steering wheel a little. Remember, reduce steering or no steering available while the cross locks are engaged. Also, Avoid heavy braking where possible. Hazards can occur in various forms: trees or branches over the road, potholes, seeps, general damage caused by machinery and vehicles, and uncontrolled movements of recreational users within the forest. It is important to report all hazards immediately. The quicker the hazards are reported, the quicker it can be resolved. Include photos of hazards where possible to assist in the repair assessment. If you're required to report hazards to your supervisor once identified, your supervisor will raise the issue with 141 representative who will act accordingly.